So how could AEW do it, my friends? How could they go into a cool arena that we all loved from years ago and only sell 950 tickets or whatever it was? I don't know about you, but I'm never going to get over it. Now, you can get mad at me, but that is the question that I saw on social media, and some people even DM me. That's why I know it's bad. If you DM me about negative wrestling, what reply are you expecting? I'm just going to go, I don't care. Why are you bothering me? I'm going to go outside and talk about my real problems. But hey, listen, I want to do a big AEW chat today. I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to do a post-show of Forbidden Door. My weekend was absolutely nuts. It just was. There's nothing I can say about it. It doesn't work for me, brother, because now my YouTube channel is in bits because if you don't upload every day, the algorithm hates you. So I have suffered financially as well. So we're both in this bucket. So boo, boo, Simon. You absolutely suck. But I don't understand why people would be so mad. Unless you are financially involved in AEW, which would completely change how you see these things. If you're just looking at it as a fan, I think it's wonderful that we have a company that is seen as the second biggest one in the world. You can argue that New Japan, CMLL, depends sort of the statistics you're into. I see AEW as number 2. How is it bad that they would want to, I guess, nerd out and be a massive geek? Like Tony Khan tweeted about this and said how excited he was to go to somewhere he hasn't been in 29 years. And he used to go to all the ECW shows. You can go back and watch old ECW events and he's there. You can see his face. People, because they're a bit weird on the internet, went and found it and circled it going, oh, look, it's Tony Khan. And of course, wrestling is great in stadiums. I think this is why it's the best week to talk about this. On Sunday, they sold, 18,992 tickets, whatever the flub it was. We'll say 18. They sold out the O2, let's just say that. And then a week later, or a few days later, they're in a 1,000-seater building that has history, and they're going to be there for 4 weeks, or whatever the flub it is, or 6 shows, I think. So, Collision, Dynamite, Collision, Dynamite, Collision, Dynamite. But to me, that is what I want as a fan. And people always go, no, I love everything that WWE is doing as well. This isn't I like apples, what do you think about oranges kind of a deal. But I don't want wrestling to ever just be one thing. I think that sucks. And I mean that in the way that I watch a show as well. I don't just want it to be serious match, title match. I want my serious match. I want my goofy match. I want my tag team match. I want my stipulation match. I think it should be a cart full of fun, whatever that phrase used to be. And it's the same with the environment that you set yourselves in. Now, listen, if you watch this, you're like, man, this is not working for me anymore. The nostalgia isn't hitting me in the way that I thought, or I just want more people making noise. I totally get that. But to see Adam Copeland and Christian Cage doing their first television love-in, or second, I suppose, in the ECW arena in front of 1,000 people, not in my wildest dreams did I ever think we were going to have a promotion that was able to, I guess, back that up. And I'm sure that Philadelphia, whoever runs that thing, is paying them a bunch of money. But it makes it different, it makes it unique, and it means when I do watch Raw and SmackDown, which I'm going to do because I'm a massive geek, everything feels different, everything feels fresh. There is so much wrestling on television that you it hits different glands, it hits different emotions, and I want this to continue forever. It's why it's so important that we do have a WWE and AEW, a CMLL, a Ring of Honor, and Impact Wrestling, or TNA, I should say, and other ones I won't even have said there because I'm an absolute moron. It's different tastes for different hastes, or different horses for courses. That's a better one. No one has ever said different tastes for different hastes. And if it went away, I just think you slip back into Monopoly, and I think you slip back into a wrestling world that just isn't as fun. And I actually thought it added to this show. Like, I wouldn't want to do it every single time. That would be lame. But I think ever since AEW has decided we're going into these 15,000 buildings, whatever it is, and we're not getting close to selling them out, so let's kind of downgrade, for lack of a better term, and pack buildings. I think it's a smart business move, and I think it makes for a better fan experience. And I'm a fan. You can go, Simon, you prefer this company. Nope. I watch every single show, and I base it on the way that I'm feeling that day, or the context that it's presented to me in, because I have real problems again. It's a waste of my life. I'm going to be on my deathbed one day. I'm not going to sit down here and be like, no matter what they do, I'm going to pretend I hate or love them. My God, can you imagine how miserable you must be if you do that on every single occasion? I would much rather, absolutely much rather, just accept it or not accept it for what it was. And it was the same for Forbidden Door. I thought it was too long, but I always think that, so I'm not going to bore you with it. But I thought it was a really, really good show. I don't necessarily think it was a great show, but nor do I think that every single pay-per-view should be a great show, right? I think it should be, it just is what it is, which is a stupid thing to say, but I don't think you can go into every single one going, oh, it's going to be the best thing I've ever seen, because then you're setting up your expectations too high. You're essentially an England football fan or England soccer fan from my American friends, and you decide that we have to win the World Cup, and when we don't, you blame everybody else but yourself. That was a weird tangent we just went down on. But I loved MJF versus Hangman Adam Page. I thought the stipulation went a little bit wibbly-wobbly. I love the non-main event, but that thing with the ear, I'll never get over. Not for me at all. And listen, I love the tag team match, but the finish again went a bit strange, but that happens. I actually think the biggest negative with the tag team match is where I was sitting, and again, I can only review it as a live experience. I had no idea who had taken out the Hurt Syndicate. I'm like, huh? So we didn't really sort of get that across in the way that maybe we were hoping to. I really enjoyed Adam Copeland and Christian taking on the patriarchy, essentially, because it was just so mad. Like, Killswitch was a babyface as well, so poor Kip Sabian was just a mega heel. But I had a really good time. I had really good seats, and yes, I was there as media, so I will thank AEW for having me along. And they go, oh, you're so biased, especially because, yes, listen, I went to that press conference afterwards. I had loads of silly questions that I was going to ask, okay? Because I've talked about it. I'm not going to talk about it again. You can see it on other videos. It's a wrestling press conference, man. If there is a pressing question, yes, it should be asked. And I would do it if I felt like I was the right person to do it. Look at me. Look at the content I make. There's far more serious people that would be better versed to do that. But Tony Khan was very nice to me. And surprise, surprise, I had people message me going, oh, so I knew you were biased. I didn't know he was going to say that. And it's not going to stop me talking about the things that I want to talk about, because you will know. You'll be like, that Simon used to feel quite honest and authentic, and he's not now. But it was still super cool. Of course it's super cool. I'm just a human being. And even though I am a wrestler, I'm a fan at heart. That's why I got into it to begin with. So when someone who owns a wrestling company says, that's Simon, he's all right, you should allow those things to take over you. It shouldn't ruin your integrity. I think that's what bothers me on social media. I'm like, are you saying if this happened to you, you would just throw your integrity out the window? Well, that says more about you than it does about me. Anyway, I don't want to start talking about this. I'm not trying to put myself over here, brother, but I really, really enjoyed Forbidden Dawn. I walked away with a big old smile on my face, which I knew, because when I came into this episode of Dynamite, I was excited about it off the back of it, and because it was an ECW arena. Again, there's just so much wrestling on TV. I was like, what a bizarre situation we have here. Edge and Christian, as I'm always going to call them so I don't make the mistake, has just completely proved me wrong. Sometimes you should do things in fast forward and story be damned, because they made me laugh at the pay-per-view and they made me laugh here. Like Christian Cage, and we basically set up the FTR match for All Out, which I'm very excited about. And Christian Cage insulting their dads and Adam Copeland trying to stop him, but the fans want it. It's like, man, just do it anyway. Because they have such good chemistry, they just make this work. I think it's a benefit the tag titles aren't on the line, because I think you could actually do more with this now. But this is why, as stupid as the catchphrase is, sometimes you do have to wait and see, because it was just wonderful, and it was just brilliant, and it was just excellent, and all the thumbs up in the world. Otherwise, I didn't mind the fact that Mercedes Moné was on there doing nothing. I'm trying to think of the criticisms that I saw here. And of course, make sure you check out Ups and Downs over on What Culture Wrestling to get my full step-by-step review. And please subscribe to me and subscribe to them as well, because obviously this is my home and they're my freelance home. That's a weird thing. I'm not saying that again. The stupidest thing I've ever said in my life. Why do you even care? You absolutely don't. I mean, we never even talk about it. She comes out. She wants to be Ultimo Dragon's record of whatever the flub it was, 10 belts. She has 9. And then she did a dance. She's going to feud with Alex Windsor. We made that quite clear. But if Alex Windsor has stayed behind in England to help her husband who's about to go to hospital, nothing more important than that. And of course, shout out to Will Ospreay. They made it very clear on this week's show he's going to be gone for a while. I mean, that just sucks, no matter how you kind of spin it. So hope he gets the surgery, hope the rehab goes great, and he's back before you know it. And I guess the overwhelming theme of this was the Death Riders and the direction we're going to go with them, and the Hangman and Page stuff. But obviously, the Death Riders, we're building to John Moxley and Darby Allin. I mean, John Moxley has said no at the moment. It will happen at All Out. So you have this main event of Claudio Castagnoli versus Darby Allin, which is Falls Count Anywhere. I mean, dude, he killed him, Claudio Castagnoli. The bit when he press slammed him out of the ring on the announce table, I don't understand it. I don't understand how Darby Allin jumps off tall things and seems to be okay. But it is fun having him back because he's just such a wild ride and you never know what he's going to do. And Claudio Castagnoli, in terms of a professional wrestler, has to be, in terms of just being so solid and so good constantly, has to be like a modern day GOAT, right? If you're talking about those attributes. The man is just, how does he do it all the time? He never even blinks the wrong way. Now, Darby Allin got the win here and he did it with his finishing move, which I was a big fan of. Then he had the schmoz afterwards. I presume he beats Gabe Kidd maybe next week or in a couple of weeks. I think Gabe Kidd's going to be on a lot of these shows. And then you do the match with John Moxley at All Out. Probably has to be a stipulation match given what they did do at Forbidden Door. And listen, they go too far for me, but you shouldn't write shows for me. So it goes back to what we were just talking about. All Out, hopefully, will be a smorgasbord of pro wrestling. And no matter what you are into, you will get it. And I think that actually makes the pay-per-view stand out even more. That was your main event as well. So Darby Allin, ECW Arena was totally crazy. And we have the reuniting of Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. I can't be mad at it because somehow AEW has nostalgia now, and then you remember it's almost 6 years old. It's over half a decade old, which is totally terrifying. But now next week as well, because obviously the Don Callis family have got involved, hence why Kenny did come out here. We're going to have some 8-man tag, and Kenny and Omega are going to be on one side with Jet Speed. Obviously the Don Callis family and the Young Bucks are going to be back on the other. So that basically is, playing off what we did at Forbidden Door. And AEW is right to do this, because when we had the stare down between the Bucks and Kenny Omega, that place went crazy. So, I've got no issue either, especially because I think think the future Hangman opponent is MJF. But MJF is clearly about to spin off to a feud with Mark Briscoe. I think he'll screw him Mark Briscoe on Collision to stop him winning the TNT title. Then you've got this amazing sort of like parallel of Mark Briscoe going after the TNT title and Kyle Fletcher and MJF stopping him. And MJF has already decided that it was Mark Briscoe that stopped him winning his world title from Hangman Adam Page. So they can then advantage off, probably do something at All Out. Kind of feel like Mark Briscoe has to win given that MJF tried to murder him for real. But we wait and see. And then maybe towards Full Gear or Revolution or something like that, we double back round. The next, well, when MJF does cash that contract in, obviously now he has to give a week's notice. I do think he probably needs to win that belt, but at the same time, we need to see where we are and what plans we have for him afterwards. Maybe he has another movie role we don't know about. Like example, in WWE, I think Cody Rhodes is in Australia at the moment filming Guile in Street Fighter. If he's got one of those, again, you have to sort of just play the hits. And I don't mind people doing this at all. I think outside endeavors are amazing. Again, if we go back to my weekend, one of the reasons I wasn't able to do my day job is because I was out there being an absolute ragamuffin and an absolute moron. So really enjoyed all the women's tag team stuff as well. I do think we need to get to the end point with this Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale thing. It's being on too long. Also thought it was a shame that Wardlow wasn't able to cut a promo. We did that awesome 8-man tag, and I know it's not for everyone, but it's most definitely for me. Even if I just watch it as an absolute Poindexter, like, well, I wrestle, I want to see how good they are and their timing and how they get everything. I'm always so impressed. But I actually think, given that AEW does do this a lot, it would have been better to give not all of that time, just some time for Wardlow to explain why he's in the Don Callis family. Now, we'll do this on a Collision and we'll do it on Dynamite. I guess I'm just a stickler in my ways. I think if you do a big reveal or a comeback at a pay-per-view, you want it to be on the first television that you watch, because then there's just a kind of synergy there, which is the worst word ever. So not like a total bust, but just a little bit of a shame. And I would like to know why he joined the Don Callis family, because especially here, he wasn't in action. He was just stood by Don Callis. And we are now teasing that we are going to maybe get to the Okada-Takeshita feud earlier than we thought, especially because Swerve Strickland's out of the game. All the best to him as well. I think he had meniscus surgery or some kind of surgery on his knee, so I hope he's doing okay. But Wardlow needs to say a few words, like, let's really sort of build him up as a brand new star. And as we know, a big part of that is promos. And we kind of just skirted by it here, other than the commentators going, oh, by the way, he did return at Forbidden Door, and he's joined this ever-growing group. And I like the trios titles being involved as well, because that's now on Forbidden Door, it's on the pre-show, and they're carrying on. It was the Ops versus Ricochet and Gates of Agony. As soon as it started, I was like, oh, I know how we get out of this. You know, the Hurt Syndicate will be here because they did screw over them at Forbidden Door. And I like that because now I think not only is it a good place for Ricochet's new group to be in, which you want don't want them to fade into the shadows, but surely it has to be MVP Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. It could be MVP's last match, or at least one of his last matches, and that's just cool. He doesn't have many left in the tank, but he did say he wasn't retired. So when you do get that, I really think you can big it up as a big deal. Why not do it all out? Be the Toronto crowd. They'll be totally crazy. And again, I'm going to that show, so give it to me. Like the selfish fan that I am. And I did think it was a bit disappointing that we didn't set somebody up for Toni Storm. Like, it was awesome she was there for Mina Shirakawa to talk about the Athena Ring of Honor match he's having. But I don't know, because it was so cut and dry with Athena and because Toni Storm beat Mercedes, I think a lot of people are scratching their heads going, what does Toni Storm do now? Like, I wouldn't call it criticism because it's too strong. I think Athena should have won that championship and then lost it back at All Out. And then those two could have been stuck together for the next few weeks. Even if Athena was going to defend her title against Mina Shirakawa, it would be a reason for Toni Storm to be there watching on. And then Athena could have paraded around with both those belts, or maybe you could have had Mina win it, right? I think that would have injected some fun into things. Because at this point, Toni Storm can lose that belt and it makes no difference. I think I gave it a down on Forbidden Door and people went crazy. I mean, giving something a down doesn't mean it was a mistake. It's just a thought I had in my head. I was like, I think we could have done it there. And I think you could have got a great reaction from the crowd too, because they were into both guys. So we need to pick who is going to be next. And maybe it is even a Mina Shirakawa. Maybe she's going to go heel. I don't know. But I would have liked that to have presented here, because All Out is only in like 3 weeks. And I would like a proper build when the Women's Championship is involved, because it's just better that way. And you don't want it to be the last couple of weeks, or especially not the sort of Wednesday beforehand. I mean, that's one of the, I wouldn't call it a detriment, but sometimes if WWE leaves it late, and they've got a pay-per-view on a Sunday, for example, and Raw's on the Monday, they have those couple of extra days to kind of not make it feel like a bigger deal, but for it to bed in with the fans. Whereas AEW, obviously, they have a Saturday show and they've got to do it on Wednesday. You're talking about 2 days there. So I guess when it comes to a world championship, I think you want to get right back into the next program. Well, you could argue he didn't do that with Hangman Adam Page, but I guess you circumvented it because he did a big hug with, his best friend or old best friend, Kenny Omega. And if you have been watching AEW since the beginning, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But I would also try and get those trios championships on Ricochet's team too. And maybe that's the feud with the Hurt Syndicate. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I really enjoyed Dynamite. I thought it was very easy to watch. Say not a perfect show by any stretch of the imagination, but the atmosphere totally tied into it because there were some big stars on this thing walking into the 2300 arena, I think it's called. And maybe I am a bit biased here. I've performed in that arena. We talked about the last match musical I did over a year ago now, which is terrifying. And we did a show there. So when you have some kind of personal connection, it's like when NXT did the center stage show. It was the same thing. I was laughing like a girl. I was laughing like a little kid, like, hee, 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 hee. I can't believe we're doing this. So that was awesome. But keep doing this kind of a stuff. I love the fact we can go from the O2 to something like this. I just think it's absolutely wonderful. And all I need to worry about is the creativity being thrown into my face. And yeah, it's not all totally on point, but then no wrestling company is. But I just know that I enjoyed the show and I thought it was fun. And let's make sure that whatever the matches are at All Out, we really jump into the build as quick as we can. But as always, more importantly, what did you think about this? Drop me a comment below. You can call me all kind of things. You can call me a biased bald man. There's nothing I can do about it. You are allowed to make your opinion up about me. When you are down there, please do like the video, share the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you want my thoughts on Raw, they'll be on the screen right now. And of course, check out my shorts where we are just doing what we call him now, the wrestling production man, where they're joke videos, right? They're all done in fun. I've already told people. I guess that's another one. Oh, you're so biased against these people. It's just me being an idiot, right? One day I'm going to be dead and I want to have as much fun as I possibly can. And sometimes that means turning into an 8-year-old boy, which is just true. Anyway, go watch all of that stuff. Also, you can go to patreon.com/Simon316 to check out my watch-alongs. I always enjoy doing those. It is grillmine.com/Simon. You just go to Simon, get 10% off. These are the best supplements in the world. Just coming back from an injury. And I tell you, they got some good stuff there as well. Brand new fitness channel is in the link below as well. If you want to get into fitness, nice, easy to understand fitness advice. No stupid bro stuff or anything like that. Not trying to intimidate you. It's not how fitness should be as far as I'm concerned. Simon316 on social media. Simon Miller and Simon J. Miller on TikTok and Cameo and all of those things. Simon Miller and Simon Miller on Big Cartel and Pro Wrestling Tees as well. Just search for my stupid name and you will see my stupid bald head. Otherwise, my friends, thank you for everyone that did come and say hello at Forbidden Door. It is very humbling. And then on Monday, we did the Progress show as well. And people were super nice there too. And you can go onto my social medias and you can check out my Metallica-themed entrance, which essentially means I can retire now because I live my stupid own damn dream to an extent. Take care, my friends. I appreciate you, and I'll probably see you on the next one.